It's May 6th, and it's the third day of our Portuguese vacation. I've been watching the ground carefully because of the cobblestones and uneven sidewalks, and we've just figured out which way we're going to go, and we see the bus to Belém, our destination for the day. The next thing I know, I'm on the sidewalk. My head hurts, and my left ankle is swelling quickly. As I catch my breath, I look around and see the 1-inch dip in the sidewalk that caused me to twist my ankle. My ankle's swollen, my nose is bleeding, and my knees ache. Is this going to wreck everything? This was not my first fall. The year I turned 50, I had several falls. Stupid falls. Walking on an inclined gravel path, I slipped and cut my knee. One winter day, I was rushing out my back door and slipped on the frosty deck, landing on my back. Another time in a stranger's yard, I slipped on the ice after noting that it looked really dangerous. At that stage of my life, I felt the need to rush from one thing to another to fit in all the things I thought I should be doing. But you see, this year, I was in Portugal to bike the Portuguese coastal Camino. For 8 long years, I've been longing to do this pilgrimage from Porto to Santiago. It was 2017 when I first saw the movie The Way and decided I wanted to walk the Camino. I joined the Edmonton chapter of the Canadian Company of Pilgrims and started walking on Saturday mornings with other pilgrims. The walks were a great opportunity to ask the important questions. Which route did you take? How long did it take you? How did you train? What did you learn? I was eager to walk the Camino and booked a trip with my daughter for May of 2018. The very week I booked the trip, I was surprised with a piercing pain in my right knee. Turns out I had torn my meniscus on one of those falls a few years earlier, and now it was getting caught in my joint. And the doctor decided I needed surgery. The trip was canceled before I ever left Canada. So this time I'm actually in Portugal 9 days ahead of our scheduled start, with friends joining us when I fall. Well, this time at least I knew to go to the hospital, because I also fell a year ago walking in the woods and tripping on a root. That time I limped around for a week before getting an x-ray. Do I have time to sit around in emergency for 8 hours to find out I have a sprained ankle? I thought not, but a week after the fall, I got an x-ray only to find out that my right ankle was broken. 3 months after that, with my healing well underway, we decided to bike the Camino, as we thought it was a better choice with my bad right knee and healing right ankle. On May 6th, in the Lisbon hospital, I asked the doctor, will I be able to bike the Camino? It's hard to say, she replied. She prescribed painkillers and anti-inflammatories, an ankle brace, ice, arnica cream, and she told me to put weight on it, to walk as much as I could to rebuild my strength, that would help me get better. Well, this interruption to my long-awaited trip became a wake-up fall, shaping the rest of my journey and my life choices since I've gotten back home. When we were planning the trip in January, I knew I couldn't go hard touring for 3 weeks, so we'd planned some downtime in the middle of our trip. We never got to Belém on May 6th, but the next day we did take the bus to Coimbra. My husband walked a lot more steps than I did, exploring the area and figuring out the route to the university tour ahead of time. Clearly, accessibility was not a priority for those who built Portugal and Spain 800 years ago. Steep hills, cobblestones, uneven sidewalks. I hobbled along, took my drugs, and iced my ankle after long days of exploring. Then we had 3 days at an Airbnb on the coast. I didn't know when I was booking that I would have a sprained ankle, but it was the perfect thing to be doing for those 3 days. It was so cool to be on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. I rested and read and walked a little and thought about how much I wanted to bike the Camino. We got to Porto on May the 12th, met up with our friends, and did some more touring. We had a few long days, and sometimes I cheated and took an Uber back to the hotel before the rest of the group. On May 15th, 9 days after spraining my ankle, I gave my crutches to the front desk clerk, offering them to the next person who might get injured on vacation, and we began our 280-kilometer bike ride. The first day was easy, 35 kilometers, mostly flat, so much beauty. The ocean, keep the ocean on your left, they told us. Coffee breaks with pastry, the exhilaration of being on the trail. A beautiful lunch, a late arrival at our hotel after stopping to smell all the roses, dinner from the grocery store. My ankle seemed fine, but my knee really hurt. But the worst was a sore butt, the complaint of most cyclists at the beginning of the season. The second day was the longest, 49 kilometers, challenging even on an e-bike. We found ourselves navigating European cities at rush hour, traversing bridges with no sidewalks and climbing long, steep hills. We were so relieved when we reached our hotel in Viana di Costello. Every day stretched me beyond my comfort zone, not just physically, but practically and emotionally. The third day, we biked 46 kilometers, crossing the River Minho and a harrowing boat ride into Spain. I was struck by the physical strength of our boatman, who picked up our 60-pound e-bikes and carried them up 3 stairs and across the boat, tipping them up to make room for 6 people and 4 bikes in these small skiffs. His balance and strength were a stark contrast to my tender ankle and tentative approach. We were rewarded on that third night with a hotel pool and a beautiful 3-course dinner. Day 4 was a beautiful ride. The wind was at our back. 43 kilometers felt more reasonable. The sun was shining. We had a 600-meter climb and then descent. I was starting to feel like things were going to be okay. Still lots of cobblestones. Great, more cobblestones, said no biker ever. Day 5 surprised me. The distance was shorter, only 35 kilometers. We left Vigo in morning rush hour traffic and had difficulty figuring out our route in some spots. And then it started to rain. The path would seem wide and gentle through the forest, and then we would turn a corner and find ourselves navigating a steep downhill with hairpin turns and walkers all around us. I gripped the handlebars and prayed that my balance and coordination would get me through the day safely. Each day when we reached our hotel, we would high-five each other with gratitude. The journey was not easy. It was still a pilgrimage with physical, emotional, and spiritual challenges, even on an e-bike. As we got closer to Santiago, there were more walkers on the trail. We would ring our bell as we approached them, greet them with the customary greeting, Buen Camino. Though some were annoyed by our bikes, most wished us a Buen Camino as well. On day 6, we were searching for some hot springs mentioned in the guidebook to soak our feet in. We were traveling a narrow, winding trail along the river, going slowly as we looked for our destination. I was at the end of my group, biked under a bridge, found a quick left turn up a slight incline, and down I went on my bike. My falls on an e-bike are always when I'm going slow and trying to turn. It's so heavy that the momentum carries you over. Though I bumped my head, I took a Tylenol and was fine and carried on. I got my glasses adjusted in Padron that evening where we spent the night. Our final day was a mere 25 kilometers, climbing almost 500 meters to enter the city of Santiago de Compostela and arrive at the Cathedral of St. James. The sidewalks were crowded as we drew near, and we had to get off our bikes and walk the final few blocks with hundreds of other pilgrims. Then we turned a corner and entered Prazo de Obradoiro. I had completed the Camino, 280 kilometers in 7 days. You see, I wasn't sure that I would actually make it until I did. The energy in that square as we celebrated with our traveling companions and hundreds of other people who had achieved their dream of doing the Camino was electric. 8 years I had longed to make this journey. The first time, the effects of a fall kept me from even traveling to Europe. This time, I was prepared, mentally, sort of physically, emotionally, and I still fell. During those days between the fall and starting the Camino, I took ownership for my healing and resolved to still pursue my goal. It was not the fall itself that mattered. It was what I did afterward. I got up, I kept moving, and I connected with my vision for this trip of a lifetime. Since getting home, I've committed to more consistent exercise, to going slower, to spending more time in nature, and being more present to the beauty all around me. See, the fall wasn't the end of my story, but it became an invitation to wake up and to hold on tight to my dream. I'm grateful for the fall and for what it taught me about my vulnerability and about my power to choose. I choose to get up and to be stronger. Please be careful on your way out of the building.